Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our virtual Mishnah Berurah share. We're holding Mishnah Berurah Chelik Gimel, and in Yirtzeh Hashem today we will be learning Daf Samach Tes Amud Beis. We are continuing to learn Hilchos Shabbos. We're going to pick up today on Samach Tes Amud Beis with Mishnah Berurah Ois Cotton Hay. We're continuing to learn Siman Reish Tzadik Gimel. We're talking about Ma'ariv and the Zman for Ois Shabbos. When exactly is Shabbos over that we can do Malacha? So I'm going to start today. I'm going to read the Mechaber in Sif Beis over again. We already did, two of the Mishnah Berurahs on Sif Beis, so we're going to pick up with Mishnah Berurah Sif Hay, Ois Cotton Hay, but I'm going to read from the Mechaber Reish Tzadik Gimel Ois Sif Beis for the sake of continuity. Our learning should be a schus for Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael, Hanasunim Batzar Ubashivya, Ha'imdim Bein Bayabasha, Bein Bayam Ubein Bayabasha, Hamakim Yerachem Aleihem V'Yitziem Yitzar L'Rvacha Me'afela L'Oira Umishibed L'Geula Hashta Bagolo V'Zman Kariv V'Naimar Amen. Our learning should be a schus for Refuah Shalema for Tzvi Ben Leah Miriam, and for Chava Hadassah Bas Rezel Serel. Our learning should be a schus for Yisrael ben Rachel, Yonasan ben Michal, and Yoel ben Michal. The Rabbeinu Shalom should watch over them together with all of our brothers and sisters that find themselves in harm's way. B'chol makom shehem. On that note, I just want to make a quick comment, and that is that I've heard some comments from some people that were highly, highly disturbing to me. People who made comments of the type when we were saying Tehillim for the soldiers and the IDF in Eretz Yisrael in harm's way, and that's very often who I'm referring to when I speak to our brothers and sisters who find themselves in harm's way. And I've heard some people make these kind of offhanded negative comments like, they shouldn't be in the war, and tziyonim and this and that. And listen, I'm not getting into the politics over here. There's just one comment that I have to make, and that is that if there are Yiddish boys and Yiddish girls that are being shot at, I'll be mispal for them. And I don't care who they are and where they are and who put them there and who sent them there. They're our brothers and our sisters, and they're in harm's way, and they're Yidden, and I will be mispal for them, and I will ask that the schus of our limud HaTorah should protect them. Could be that the schus of the limud HaTorah should also help guide them together with all of Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael. It should guide them in the right direction, and if they're not from, they should be zocheh to have a spark of ruchnius enter their neshama, and they should become from, etc., etc. But to me, it's a very simple dara pashut, and I've been mekabel this from my rebbeim as well, and that is, I don't care who they are, I don't care what their political leanings are and what their stripes are. They're Yidden, they're Bnei Avram, Yitzchak, V'Yaakov, they're members of Klal Yisrael. If they're in harm's way and there are people that are shooting at them, then I'm going to be mispal for them, and I'm going to ask that the Rabbeinu Shalom please protect them. Okay, now, moving along, and I don't think this even should have had to been said, but unfortunately, something that occurred over Shabbos made me say it. Okay, so let's just read here the Mechaber Reish Tzadik Gimel Sif Beis. Says the Mechaber, Tzarech Lizar, this is on Samach Tes Amud Aleph. Tzarech Lizar Milasos Malacha. We have to take care not to do any meleches iser, not to perform any type of malacha that is prohibited on Shabbos, ad sheyero shloisha kechavim ketanim, until the sky is so dark on Motzei Shabbos that we can see 3 small stars. And those stars, v'lo yihu mefuzarim, they should not be scattered across the sky, one, in the south and one in the north, and etc., etc. Ela ritzufim. We should have 3 stars close to each other, 3 small stars close to each other. Ve'imhu yom unan, if it's a cloudy, overcast day or evening, and now because of that, you can't see the stars, how do you know when you could do malacha? Says the Mechaber, Yamtin ad sheyetze hasafek milibay. If that happens, you should wait until such time that you no longer have a doubt. You know it's already night. And at that point, you could begin to do malacha. Now, yesterday we already covered Mishnah Berurah Ois Cotton Beis on Samach Tes Amud Aleph, who pointed us to Siman Reish Tzadik Tes and reminded us that we have to take into account when we're deciding when we could do malacha on Motzei Shabbos, don't forget about Havdalah. You can't do malacha before Havdalah, at least making Havdalah, saying Atachan Antanu, and being Mavdil in Shemona Esrei. So he sent us to Reish Tzadik Tes. Remember, keep in your mind that part of the equation of when you could start doing malacha is Havdalah. Then we saw in Mishnah Berurah's Cotton Gimel, the Mishnah Berurah said, why is the Mechaber telling us we have to wait for 3 small stars? Because we have to make sure that we're already into the night when it's no longer ben hashmashos, it's no longer Safek Yom, Safek Laila. We have that twilight period between Shkia, Tzeis HaKechavim. We have the twilight period where the sky is already beginning to darken, but that's not yet Vadai Laila. It's not certainly night yet. It's the Zman of Ben Hashmashos, and during Ben Hashmashos you're not allowed to do malacha. So it's when you see 3 Kechavim Ketanim, then we know it's Vadai Laila, and then we know for sure that we could do malacha. In Mishnah Berurah Dalid, the Mishnah Berurah brought down different opinions. We have this opinion that if you see 3 small stars, but the sky is still light, then it's not Vadai Laila, even though you're seeing 3 small stars. But if you look up and somehow the sky is still light, well, guess what? There are stars that are visible even during the day. So maybe those are the stars that you're seeing. He brought this down for the Bri Chadash. He said that Rabbi Akiva Eger brings this down as well. But then we had the Gra. The Gra said, you look at the western horizon. If all the redness that's caused by the sun, we all know, we look at a beautiful sunset and we see all of those different shades of reds and oranges and pinks and purples. If all of the ademimus, if all of the redness has left the western horizon, so that's already, at that point, if you see 3 Kechavim Ketanim, you see 3 small stars, you could already do malacha. Even though there may still be some lightness in the sky, but if all the redness has already gone from the western horizon, and you see 3 small stars, then we know for sure it's already night. The Mishnah Berurah Nice Cotton Dalid also brought down this Tiferes Yisrael, who said that you also need to see 3 larger stars. Besides seeing 3 stars that you feel are 3 small stars, you also need to see 3 Kechavim Beinonim, 3 medium-sized stars. Why? So the simple explanation of the Tiferes Yisrael is, again, small, large, medium, these are relative terms. If you see 3 small stars, how do you know that those are really small stars? Maybe you're seeing 3 large stars. So it's only when you see 3 larger stars that now, in relation to those stars, you could say that you're seeing 3 small stars. Now you'll tell me, maybe the 3 larger stars are 3 big stars, and the 3 smaller stars that you're seeing are medium-sized stars. Well, Me'ikar Adin, all you need is 3 medium-sized stars in order to do malacha. So that's what we've seen over here so far in the Mishnah Berurah. Now we move on Samach Tes Amud Beis to Mishnah Berurah Ois Cotton Hay. Now again, I'm going to say so far we're discussing the Zman that you're allowed to do malacha on Motzei Shabbos in very esoteric terms. We're talking about it based on astronomy. We're talking about stars and what you can see in the sky and what you can't. We're not taking into account clocks. We're not taking into account watches. We're not taking into account the luach that we have at home that tells us precisely what time Shkia is and precisely what time Tzeis HaKechavim is. We're going to discuss that, but first let's get through this. Mishnah Berurah's Cotton Hay. The Mechaber said that when we see these stars in the sky, they cannot be mifuzarim, scattered throughout the sky. We need to see 3 stars close to one another. Says the Mishnah Berurah's Cotton Hay. Why is this? Mishum Tosefes Shabbos. Because we're not trying to bring about Ois Shabbos. We're not focusing over here on getting out of Shabbos as soon as possible. Adarabah, there's a mitzvah of Tosefes Shabbos. There's a mitzvah and a chiyuv to be moisif mechayil ala kodesh. Really, we want to take a little piece of Motzei Shabbos, of Saturday night, that is chayil, that's weekday, and we want to add it on to Shabbos day and be mekadesh it. We want to extend Shabbos. So says the Mishnah Berurah, why does the Mechaber say that you should wait until you could see 3 small stars close to one another? Because apparently that takes longer. Apparently it's easier or it's faster to be able to pinpoint 3 small stars scattered throughout the sky than to see 3 small stars next to each other. And I guess that makes sense, because if you're If you wait until you could pinpoint 3 small stars scattered throughout the sky, so that means that you're taking out of all of the stars that are available to you. You're looking at the entire sky, right? North, west, east, south. As soon as you see 3 kechavim ketanim, you're ready to make Ois Shabbos. Says the Mechaber, no, don't do that. Wait until you see 3 small stars close to each other. By that time, there might already be 10 or 12 kechavim ketanim scattered throughout the sky. But you're still waiting because you're waiting for a point when you could see 3 small stars next to each other. That's going to be Mekayim Tosefes Shabbos. You're going to wait longer. So you're going to be Moisef Michael al HaKodesh. Continues the Mishnah Berurah. However, since this is only because of being machmir in Tosefes Shabbos, says the Mishnah Berurah, if you see 3 small stars she'einam ritzufim that are scattered throughout the sky, they're not close to each other, umamtin ma'at acharei kain, and then you wait a little. So in other words, you see 1 star in the south and 1 star in the north and 1 star in the west. So now you have 3 kechavim ketanim, but you say, you know what, I'm going to wait a little bit. That's also Tosefes Shabbos. Mutar lasis malacha. Then it would be mutar mikar adin to do malacha. The ikar tam haritzufin mishum Tosefes. Because the only reason we're requiring 3 small stars close to each other is for Tosefes Shabbos. So all right, if you see 3 small stars that are not close to each other, meikar adin, it's already Ois Shabbos. Now if you wait 5 minutes, that's already Tosefes Shabbos, and you're okay. Okay. Said the Mechaber. The Mechaber said if it's a cloudy day, if it's overcast, and because of that you can't see the stars, so then what should you do? Said the Mechaber, you should wait until all doubt has already left your mind. Meaning, you know already, it's night. I waited long enough. It's night. Says the Mishnah Berurah is cut vav ad sheyetze. Now the Mishnah Berurah finally makes a very important point that we've been mentioning already since we started this discussion. We already had a whole discussion in Siman Reish Samach Aleph when we were discussing what time Shabbos comes in. So as part of that discussion, we had to have a whole discussion of Zmanim. We spoke about the Shitas Rabbeinu Tam, we spoke about the Shitas Hagra, when is Shkia, when is Tzeis HaKechavim, and the Mechaber paskins like the Rabbeinu Tam. To remind you very, very quickly, according to the Rabbeinu Tam, what we call Shkia, sunset, is what, according to the Rabbeinu Tam, is called Tchilas HaShkia. That's the beginning of sunset. Okay, 58 and a half minutes later is the real Shkia. That's the Soif Shkia. That's the end of Shkia. So according to the Rabbeinu Tam, 58 and a half minutes after what we call Shkia, after sunset, that's the beginning of Bein Hashmoshes. And then from there until 72 minutes after what we call Shkia, after sunset, that's Bein Hashmoshes. And 72 minutes after what we call Shkia, that's called Tzeis HaKechavim. All right. Tzeis HaKechavim is Vadai Laila. That's the point at which you could start doing malacha. So says the Mishnah Berurah, why are we having this whole esoteric conversation over here? And we're talking about when you can see 3 small stars, and if it's cloudy, what should you do? You should wait ad sheyatza asafik milibai, and we have all these Mishnah Berurahs, big stars, small stars, how many stars, spread out through the sky, not spread out through the sky. Why doesn't the Mechaber just say very simply, you shouldn't do malacha until 4 mil, kidei mahalach 4 mil, the time it takes to walk 4 mil, which is 72 minutes, after Shkia. Don't do malacha until 72. Why did the Mechaber just say that? So it says the Mishnah, I'll tell you why. This that the Mechaber didn't say, you know when you should do malacha? You should do malacha, the amount of time it takes to walk 4 mil, Me'ez Tchilas HaShkia, from the first Shkia, from sunset, from Tchilas HaShkia, and after that, 72 minutes later, that's when you could do malacha. Which would be in accordance with how the Mechaber paskins in Reish Samach Aleph, that Vadai Laila is 72 minutes after Tchilas HaShkia, after sunset. Very simple. We're talking about back in the day. They didn't have a luach. They didn't have a watch. They didn't have a clock. The way they told time was by looking up at the sky. If it's a very cloudy, overcast day, guess what? This fellow who's standing on Motzei Shabbos trying to figure out when he could start doing malacha, he doesn't know what time Shkia was because he didn't see the Shkia. It was a very overcast day today, and he didn't see the Shkia. So how is he supposed to calculate 72 minutes after Shkia? Says the Mishnah Berurah, that is why we're having this whole conversation just based on astronomy and not based on minutes. Because minutes only help you, A, if you have a way of measuring them, B, you have to have your starting point and your ending point. If you could pinpoint when Shkia was, so now you can count 72 minutes after Shkia, and now you know what time ice is, even if you can't see the stars. But if you can't pinpoint what time Shkia was, because you couldn't see the sunset, so you don't have a starting point. So what 72 minutes going to help you? So therefore, you have to use stars. But it's a very cloudy night. It was a cloudy day, and it's a cloudy night. I couldn't see Shkia, and now I can't see the stars. All right, so you have to wait. At a certain point, a time comes when a guy knows it's night. There's nothing to talk about anymore. It's night already. So at that point, you could do malacha. And now the Mishnah Berurah says in Zion, miliboy, ve'im yesh loy moire sha'os, if you have a clock, or you have a watch, the words moire sha'os means something that teaches you the hours. A moire hara is somebody who teaches you psak halacha. Lahoiros es Bnei Yisrael, to teach the Bnei Yisrael. A moirish sha'is is something that instructs you regarding the time, regarding the hours. V'im yesh lo moirish sha'is, if you have a clock or a watch, shaholich b'toiv, that is reasonably accurate, you know it's a good watch or a good clock. V'yodeya b'birur shahaya esmael b'zeh azman laila al pi adin, and you know, wherever you live, you have a watch, and last night you looked at the time, and you know that at 5:30 yesterday it was already Vaydalayla. You know that at 5:30 yesterday you were able to see 3 small stars. So now tonight it's a cloudy night. You can't see the stars, but you look at your watch. If it worked 5:30 last night, it works 5:30 this night. So it's Vadei Laila. So that's what the Chavetz Chaim says. Im yesh lo mar shoyis, if you have a clock or a watch, shaholich b'toiv, that works well, v'yadei b'birur, and you know for certain, shahaya esmal b'zeh azman, that yesterday at this time, Laila, it was already night, al pi hadin, dahainu shlosh kechavim ktanim, meaning that yesterday at this time you were able to see 3 small stars. Near it would seem that you could rely on the clock. That you're allowed to rely on a clock. Okay. That really covers the Mechaber's and the Mishnah Berurah's discussion over here about what time you could start doing malacha. For us, to put it in very practical terms, we have a lot of problems using astronomy, using looking up at the sky to judge when it's Eis Shabbos. If you live in the New York metropolitan area, if you live in a big city, there's so much light pollution that you could barely see the stars. So it's going to have to be very late at night until you're finally going to start seeing the stars, simply because of the light pollution, all the reflected light going up to the sky from the street lights and all the lights that we have here in modern society, which messes around with our health as well. So how do we do it? Well, we do it based on minutes. We use a moirish, we use clocks, we use calendars, we use a luach. Halacha l'maisa, the Mechaber very, very clearly paskins like the Rabbeinu Tam. The Mishnah Berurah did bring down the Shitas Hagra in Reish Samach Aleph and many, many, many other Achrayim who argue with the Shitas Rabbeinu Tam. And the Shitas, according to the Shitas Hagra, the Zman really would be a lot earlier. Again, just to put it very succinctly, according to the Rabbeinu Tam, what we call sunset is Tchilas Hashkia. That's the beginning of sunset, according to Rabbeinu Tam. According to Rabbeinu Tam, after what we call sunset is still Vadai Yom. It's still certainly day. For how long? Until 58 and a half minutes later. 58 and a half minutes later is when Ben Hashmoshes begins. So according to Rabbeinu Tam, almost an hour after Shkia is Vadai Yom, which means that on Motzei Shabbos, for almost an hour after Shkia, you're still not allowed to do malacha. Me'ikar adin, you're not allowed to do malacha at that time. It's Mamsha Daraisa. You're not allowed to do malacha. It's Vadayim. 58 and a half minutes after sunset begins Bein Hashmashas, the twilight period, that's Suffolk Yom, Suffolk Laila. Okay, from 58 and a half minutes until 72, that's Bein Hashmashas. 72 minutes after Shkia, that's already Tzeis HaKechavim. Now it's Vaday Laila. Now's when you're allowed to do malacha. That's the Shitas Rabbeinu Tam, and that's the way the Mechaber Paskins, like the Rabbeinu Tam. According to the Gra, Shkias Achama, sunset, that marks the beginning of Bein Hashmashas. According to the Gra, you know what Tzeis HaKechavim is? Tzeis HaKechavim is 13 and a half minutes after Shkia. So according to the Gra, 13 and a half minutes after Shkia is already Vaday Laila, it's already Tzeis HaKechavim. Now, Rav Moshe, Zechat Tzaddik V'Kodesh L'Vracha, writes very, very clearly in the Igris that because of the Chaymer Adavar of Shabbos, because we're dealing with Shabbos, which is so strict, and Shabbos, which is such a Davar Chamor, and we're talking about a Shitas Rabbeinu Tam, he says that when it comes to the Shaila of Malacha on Motzei Shabbos, we have to be Machmir like the Rabbeinu Tam. Befrat, the Mechaber Paskins like Rabbeinu Tam. So we have to Paskin like Rabbeinu Tam. Now, having said that, does that mean that according to Rav Moshe, we have to be Machmir like the Rabbeinu Tam, and we can't do Malacha until 72 minutes after Shkia? Not quite. Because there's some basic astronomy that we have to remember. And that is, we know, I'm not going to go into the whole thing now, but just some simple points. We know that over the course of the year, the days are longer and the days are shorter. So here in the northern hemisphere, let's say in the New York metropolitan area, and anything that's similar in our latitude, the summer days are longer, the winter days are shorter. Why is that? It has to do with the angle of declination, the angle at which the earth is oriented towards the sun. So during the summer, we are pointed towards the sun. Since we're pointed towards the sun during the summer, the sun is covering a larger portion of our area of the earth. It takes longer for us to get out of the area that's covered by the sun as the earth turns. So the day is longer. During the winter, as the earth travels around the sun, during the winter months, now we're pointed away from the sun. Because we're angled away from the sun, the day is shorter. Now that has another effect. It's the same thing, but again, think about it. During the summer, our day is longer. It takes us longer to get out of the light of the sun. You know what that means? That means also that after Shkia, after sunset, it is going to be lighter for longer during the summer than it is during the winter. So, the amount of time that it takes for the sky to get fully dark from sunset, after sunset, right? By sunset, the sky is not yet fully dark. So to put it in the esoteric terms we've been using here in Siman Reish Tzadi Gimel, we need to wait until the sky is so dark that we could see 3 kechavim ketanim. That's called Tzeis HaKechavim. According to Rabbeinu Tam, when is Tzeis HaKechavim? 72 minutes after Shkia. But the Bir Halacha, we had this earlier in Reish Samach Aleph, and many others point out that was true for Bavel. That was true for the Bavel area of the world. Iraq, Iran, that's where it takes 72 minutes for the sky to get so dark. But as you move north, that changes. That's going to change in relation to how far you are from the equator. And it's also going to change by the season. There are times of the year that it gets darker sooner after sunset. There are parts of the world where it's going to get darker sooner after sunset. There are also parts of the world where it's going to get fully dark. It's going to take longer for that to happen after sunset. Rav Moshe in the Igris writes that for the New York metropolitan area, and it's very cute because he writes in the Tshuva that that this pertains to the Catskills as well. He says he was there during the summer months, and he saw that it remains true up north, more north in the Catskills as well. Rav Moshe writes that in the New York metropolitan area, really, by 50 minutes after Shkia, 50, by 50 minutes after sunset, that's the longest amount of time it takes throughout the year, even during the longest days of the summer. By 50 minutes after Shkia, you could already see 3 kachavim ketanim. That would already be tzeitzah kachavim, even according to Rabbeinu Tam. So again, when Rabbeinu Tam says Kedei Mahalach Dalid Mil, which really comes from a Gemara, it's not Rabbeinu Tam's words. When it says that tzeitzah kachavim is the time it takes to walk 4 mil, aka 72 minutes. That's not a fixed amount of minutes. It depends where you are on the globe. In Bavel, it took 72 minutes to get from Shkia to Tzeitzah Kechavim on the longest days of the year. Not so in the northern hemisphere, up in the New York metropolitan area. Over there, by 50 minutes after Shkia, it's already for sure Tzeitzah Kechavim, even on the longest day of the year. So Rav Moshe writes that Me'ikar Hadin, you could do malacha 50 minutes after Shkia, 50 minutes after Shkia, even on the longest days of the year. Having said that, Rav Moshe writes that Yirei Shamayim, Balei Nefesh, B'nai Torah, should wait a full 72 minutes to be machmer like the Rabbeinu Tam. Now, how you balance this, the fact that he says physically, by 50 minutes after Shkia, it's already tzeitzah kechavim for sure. You can already see 3 kechavim ketanim. Yet you should be machmer like the Rabbeinu Tam, because the Rabbeinu Tam writes 72 minutes. That's beyond my pay grade. I'm not going to go into that because I didn't hear it from him. So I'm not going to try to explain it. But that is very clearly what Rav Moshe writes. So again, Rav Moshe writes that we should be machmer like Rabbeinu Tam, but Rabbeinu Tam doesn't necessarily mean 72 minutes. By 50 minutes after Shkia already, that's Vadai, Laila in the New York metropolitan area. You can't take what I'm saying, different parts of the world. You have to ask your Rabbanim in those parts of the world. It depends just on the physical facts on the ground or on the sky, as it may be, in those parts of the world. But the Rishiva writes that you should be machmer like Rabbeinu Tam, and you should go for a full 72. He also writes in the Tshuva that there are those that are machmer for 96 minutes after Shkia, because there are those that say that Mahalach Mil is not 18 minutes, Mahalach Mil is 24 minutes. That, Rav Moshe says, there's no need to be machmer on, for sure, in the New York metropolitan area. Okay. Moving along, now we come to the final sif here in Siman Reish Sadi Gimel. Sif Gimel says the Mechaber. Very interesting halacha. Mi shehu onus, somebody who has some kind of an onus. Kigoin, for example, shetzarich lahachshich al hatchum lidvar mitzvah. Okay, we know that there's an isser of tchum on Shabbos. You're not allowed to travel beyond the tchum. So if you began Shabbos in a city, you're allowed to travel the entire within the city. You could go as far as you want within the city. Now, I'm using the words within the city. That's from 30,000 feet. We'll have to wait until Chelik Dalid to get into this a little bit more. But realize, within the city is not necessarily true. You could be living in New York City, and you might have tchum shilas within New York City, where you're walking beyond the inhabited area exactly where you are. You're going out of the tchum because there's a long space where there are no houses, etc., etc. You might be going out of the tchum. But again, from 30,000 feet, when you're within the town limits, the city limits, you could walk as far as you want. But the tchum begins at the end of the municipality where you are, where the houses stop, and now you're outside of the city. You only have 2,000 amas where you're allowed to travel. If you go beyond 2,000 amas, you're going outside of the tchum. You're not allowed to travel outside of the tchum on Shabbos. Whether the Issa Tchumin is an Issa Daraisa, an Issa Darabanan, that's a machlokes. We generally paskin that it's an Issa Darabanan to go out of the tchum on Shabbos. Now, let's say somebody has a very strong need to be located outside of the Tchum on Motzei Shabbos. So let's say somebody has a sick relative that's located a half a mile, which is approximately 2,500 feet, outside of the Tchum, and he must get to him on Motzei Shabbos. Now, he doesn't want to wait until Motzei Shabbos to start on his journey. What he wants to do is, he wants to be located all the way at the Tchum at the minute Shabbos ends. So now he only has to walk another half a mile to get to his sick relative. He doesn't want to stay at home inside the city, daven Ma'ariv at the Zman of Ma'ariv, make Havdalah at the Zman of Havdalah, and then first start traveling, let's say, a mile until the Tchum, and then go another half a mile out of the Tchum. No, he wants to walk as far as he can walk on Shabbos. He wants to go all the way to the edge of the Tchum on Shabbos, and now the minute Shabbos is over, he'll walk the last half a mile to go to be Mavaka Chayla to his sick relative. So he has an oinus. This is a very powerful need that he has, and he's got to, and because of that tzorich, he wants to be at the edge of the Tchum right at the minute of Motzei Shabbos. Now he has a problem. You know what his problem is? If he's going to be located at the edge of the Tchum on Motzei Shabbos, he's not going to be able to make Havdalah. Why? Because there's no wine there. Now, he can't carry wine with him to the edge of the Tchum. Maybe there's no Erev. So he has no way to get to the Tchum with wine. And when he's by the Tchum, he's not going to be able to make Havdalah. So he wants to be at the Tchum at the minute Shabbos is over. And he's not going to be able to make Havdalah at the Tchum because there's going to be no wine. Interesting case. Says the Mechaber, Mishahu Anus, somebody who has such a need, he has to be at the edge of the Tchum when it gets dark, meaning he has to be at the edge of the Tchum when Shabbos ends, lidvar mitzvah. And this is not because he wants to go to a store and buy something. It's because of a dvar mitzvah. He needs to be mavaka chaylo or something like that. Yochal lihispal shal motzi Shabbos miplag mincha ulamayla. You know what we're going to let this guy do according to the Mechaber? He could daven Ma'ariv on Motzei Shabbos at Plag Mincha. When's Plag Mincha? An hour and 15 minutes before Shkia. We all know about making early Shabbos. When you make early Shabbos, we learned about this. What do? You daven Ma'ariv after Plag. So you daven Ma'ariv on Erev Shabbos, an hour and 15 minutes before Shkia. That's the earliest that you're allowed to be Makabel Shabbos. So you'll daven Ma'ariv Friday, an hour and 15 minutes before Shkia, you'll be Makabel Shabbos, boom, it's Shabbos. Says the Mechaber over here in Reitzad Gimel, it works on the back end of Shabbos too, to an extent. If you have an oinus, and therefore you want to daven Ma'ariv early on Motzei Shabbos, you could daven Ma'ariv at Plaga Mincha, ulahavdil miyad, and you could make Havdalah after Plaga Mincha. Now take it easy. Avalo yivarach alaner, you're not going to make a bari marei eish. First of all, and you can't do malacha. We're not giving you a dispensation over here to end Shabbos early. No, you're not allowed to do malacha at tzesek echavim. That's for certain. You're not allowed to do any malacha. It's still Shabbos for you until it's Vaday Laila. So until tzesek echavim, you can't do malacha. What's the dispensation that we're giving you? We're giving you a dispensation to daven Ma'ariv early and make Havdalah early. But you're going to make that Havdalah without a Bari Marei Eish. First of all, you can't light a candle. Second of all, even if you happen to have a candle burning, you still can't make a Bari Marei Eish. Why? Because you can't make a bracha Bari Ma'orei Ha'esh. The bracha of Bari Ma'orei Ha'esh is thanking the Rabbeinu Shalom for the creation of fire and the creation of artificial light. You can only do that at night when it's dark outside, because that's when you have hana from the fire. By Plaga Mincha, it's the light outside, so you can't make a bracha Bayrei Ma'orei Ha'esh. So you're going to make Havdalah without a Bayrei Ma'orei Ha'esh. According to most Paiskim, you're also going to, I think it's most Paiskim, you're also going to make Havdalah without a Bayrei Mina B'Samim. So the only dispensation over here is, you have a problem. You got to be located at the Tchum at the time of Osh Shabbos. And over there, you're not going to have wine. You're also not going to have a minyan. So you're not going to be able to make Havdalah. You're not going to, you know what? You could have a Ma'ariv early, and you can make Havdalah early, but you can't do malacha or anything until after Tzeitzek Echavim. That's what the Mechaber says over here. Says the Mishnah Berurah is Katan Ches. Kigoyin shetzarich. Hainu. The Mishnah Berurah explains this case. Shahoylech mi beisai mi ba'od yoyim ad soif atchum. You want to go Shabbos afternoon while it's still Shabbos. You want to walk all the way to the edge of the Tchum. V'yoshiv sham ado erev, and you're going to wait there until Motzei Shabbos, until Tzesek Yechavim. Kidei shemiyad sheyachshach, so that the instant it's dark and Shabbos is over, yelech lidvar mitzvah hanochotzloi. You're going to be able to travel out of the Tchum. You can't travel out of the Tchum on Shabbos. So you want to be at the edge of the Tchum on Motzei Shabbos, so that the instant Shabbos is over, you could travel beyond the Tchum, and you could do this dvar mitzvah that is very pressing for you. Umayri, and we're talking about a case, Shesham lo yimatzeh lo kais lahavdil olav. You're not going to be able to make Havdalah out there at the edge of the Tchum. That's why we're giving you a dispensation. Daven Ma'ariv early and make Havdalah early. Nevertheless, despite what the Mechaber says here, Kosav Achrayim, the Achrayim right, the Ein Laseis Kain, you should not do this. Do not daven Ma'ariv after Plag on Shabbos evening and make Havdalah by Plag Shabbos evening. Dedavar Tamuahu Larabim. Someone is going to see you making Havdalah an hour and 15 minutes before Shkia Shabbos evening, and they're going to look at you like you're a nut. Gam Shemi Yavoy Lahakal B'Malacha. We also have another big problem. If we're going to allow you to go make Havdalah, daven Ma'ariv, before it's even Shkia on Motzei Shabbos, you know what you might come do? You might end up going and turning on the lights or turning off the lights, because what do you mean? I made Havdalah already. Ubefrat b'yameinu, certainly nowadays, the noihagen laseis tamid karabanan, we paskin like the chachamim on a constant basis. Shemispal and mincha ado erev, we always daven mincha until shkia. Bevada medina also lahaktem ma'ariv b'motzei Shabbos. There's no dispensation to daven ma'ariv before shkia. We always paskin like the chachamim. We daven mincha all the way to shkia. How are you davening ma'ariv before shkia? It's tarti desasri. You're doing two things that contradict each other. All week long, you daven mincha all the way to Shkia. That means that you hold that all the way till Shkia, it's still day. Now, Motzei Shabbos, suddenly you're davening Ma'ariv before Shkia. And now you're saying that it's night? You can't do that. V'after be'erev Shabbos yeshem akilin. Even though we let you do it on Erev Shabbos to make early Shabbos, that's because on Erev Shabbos, there's a mitzvah. By making Shabbos early, you're fulfilling Tosefes Shabbos in a big way. So because there's a mitzvah to be Meisif B'chayil Ala Kodesh, we'll let you get away with davening Ma'ariv after Plag, before Shkia, on Erev Shabbos. But Motzei Shabbos, there's certainly no mitzvah to do this. Ma'ashe'en kain b'Motzei Shabbos. Ois got Yodel Havdal Miyad, and you can make Havdalah, Umikamokim Yamtid Milikris Kriya Shema Tzesek Echavim. But the Mishnah Berurah says, over here, you can't say Kriya Shema, because it's before Tzeis. The mitzvah say daraisa of Kriya Shema Shalayla, you have to say Kriya Shema after Tzeis. First Mishnah in Shas, Be'emasai Karin Shema Ba'arvis, Mishosh Shekanim Mechnasav Lecha B'Trumasan. You can't be B'Kayim, the mitzvah say daraisa of Kriya Shema Shalayla until after Tzeis HaKechavim. Now, when the Mishnah Berurah says over here that you should wait to say Kriya Shema until after Tzeis HaKechavim, you have to chop what he means. You know what he really means? He means that according to the Mechaber, this guy who wants to daven Ma'ariv early on Motzei Shabbos, he wants to daven Ma'ariv after Plag, he's only going to daven Shemona Esrei. He's not going to say Birchas Kriya Shema and Kriya Shema. Birchas Kriya Shema and Kriya Shema, he's going to say after Tzesek Echavim. That's what the Mishnah Berurah means over here, that he should wait to say Kriya Shema until after Tzesek Echavim. It means that he should daven Shemona Esrei of Ma'ariv after Plag. He should make Havdalah. Then later, he should say Birchas Kriya Shema and Kriya Shema after Tzesek Echavim, Ayin Oid, in the Biur Halacha on this topic. Thank you. We're going to stop over here. We'll continue next time with Siman Reitz on Daled. Thank you so much for joining me for Limud HaTorah. The source of Limud HaTorah should be Megan and Gans Klal Yisrael. The Ransham should send Yeshua's Refuas Parnasa Shidduchim to all those in need. We should be Zayich to see the Bias called Tzedek B'Meher V'Yameinu. Amen. Be well.